Alrighty, Doc here, TGIF. Thank goodness it's Friday. Alright, a fun-filled week it has been. And next week will be a fun-filled week that will be. And that is where we're at. Now, let's jump over to the Swissy. And you can see it right there. Swiss has been moving up in the hinky ashies. We're starting to get a little... Where's it at? We got to switch that, don't we? It's moving a little bit down in the real time. Hinky ashies are kind of a delayed type of process. Whereas we follow, in all honesty, what we really watch more than anything else is these two lines. The white line here, the fast-moving stochastic versus the slow-moving stochastic. It has almost a 70%, it's like 68 point something matchup to our math right there. So that's why we do that. So that's a really good thing. And in the hinky ashy, it just is almost identical, but it's like 4 hours behind our dots. That's what it usually is. So not bad. It's a good way of looking at the markets, and you can see it right here. A little firmness slowly disappearing in the dollar. That's what it comes down to, really. The dollar is slowly chilling out for a Friday here. It has been a wild and woolly week, and there's not much more to be said about it than that. Mr. Biden has lost most, if not all, credibility now with most of the United States. The British Parliament, Labour and Conservatives, voted a, what do they call it? Contempt order on him. Germany, same way. NATO claims, the NATO leader says now that this is the worst thing that's ever happened to NATO. And so you had a choice between what they call mean texts, or was it tweets, versus someone totally 100% incompetent. The one who's 100% incompetent was capable of, the party there stole the election, and they did what they needed to do. They got in, they grabbed power, and when you're incompetent, you're just incompetent, and that's about it. Nothing more than that. Even when owning the media, you can only hide reality so long, especially when you're that far off course in understanding of reality. And that's how it's been. So the dollar, you can see how the dollar has acted all week. It's been kind of firm. Look at the chart there. You can see on Monday, you can see the Swiss right there. Is that Monday? Let's see. There's Friday. So Monday it was down, and Tuesday it was kind of down, but by the end of the day it found a way to be up. Our math was starting to turn, so was the J4X. And then, right there, you can see that. And then, Wednesday, Thursday, and not really today. It's flat now that things are resolved. Things move fast. And so there's not much. Douglas, there's not much to be worried about, at the moment. They'll resolve what they have to resolve. I guess if anything, what the good thing is that the country in general now, and the media in particular, is starting to appreciate the level of incompetency between the president and the vice president, and they'll resolve it. We have a system that's designed to do that, because we're really ruled by the people, and we're so free in America that we're just lazy. That's what it comes down to. We're lazy. We're like, what was that, a Connecticut Yankee? You ever see that story, the Connecticut Yankee, where the guy's just laying underneath a tree, he falls asleep and wakes up, decades earlier or decades later, that type of thing. We're just, that's what free people do. That's why we're so successful. Free people get an opportunity to make mistakes and start over and do again. And in this case here, it's kind of run its course, and now I think the general population in the United States, on all sides of the political spectrum, realize it. And so, the dollar is just starting to flatten out now. There's no reason for it to be too panicky, and there's no reason for it to be too sellish, and the Federal Reserve is kind of happy, this probably guarantees, I don't know if it guarantees, but it's going to make it very tough to bring in Blinder now. I was totally convinced we're going to see Blinder from Princeton. He was vice chair at one point. He's just one big. He fits with the leftists in America, and so he's head of the department at Princeton forever, like 40 years, and and so were able to get him up to the vice chair of the Fed, but no one could get him through past the be chair. But with the way things are now, he could have gotten away with it if only the political power in power right now is competent. And they've just been doing one foolish thing after another, and I guess the Afghanistan is the cherry on the top of the cake. That's all it comes down to at this point. And so now the policies of whatever was going to happen seem to be diminishing and disappearing. All right, where do we go from here? Let's jump over to the euro. And there's the euro. Now the euro still moving down a little bit. You can see the down bars. And let's see what it looks like on J4X. Let's put this over here like that. There we go. Right there. There we are. It's on the J4X now. You bet, Doc. Hey, cool. Douglas, I'm not sure what I bet on, but I'm really happy that you think I won. I like that. That's a goodie. I'll take a compliment anytime. So, we're just going to stumble along. It's going to be chill. And you can see here, there's the euro running down and down and down, which is, I guess, that could be a little after effect of the Afghanistan disaster, I guess you could call it. I don't know, Europe is probably shaking their head a little bit this morning. It's like, oh my God, we thought this was great to steal an election, We could get that socialist policies in, and all of a sudden you realize that, you can only stretch a rubber band so far before it breaks. I guess that's what it really comes down to. When something doesn't fit, it doesn't fit. And when you have an individual who's been incompetent, I was thinking about it this morning. He stole speeches from Neil Kinnock. He stole speeches from Tony Blair. He's been a strange bug for 40 some, almost 50 years. I've never cared for him at all. He's one of our neighboring senators, so I've had to put up with him all the time. He's just an incompetent guy, but he's gotten incredibly wealthy from being a senator. There's a picture of a former president we had. His name was Harry Truman. He replaced Franklin Roosevelt, who was the wartime president, for World War II, and he said he was a pretty decent guy, and he said he was the one that dropped the nuclear bombs on Japan, and gave the orders to fire them, drop them all over top of Japan, and he said that, show me a politician that gets rich, and I'll show you a crook, and I think that's probably where we're at this point in time. Now it's like, well, maybe you should have just stayed fat and rich and stopped reaching for power. But when you control the media to a great extent, in other words, you have that on your side, you kind of lose a sense of reality after a while. You think that you can just do anything, and now obviously you can see it's over with. His son, I understand, they're locals. They're locals around here. I mean, his son lives like, I don't know, 30 kilometers from me, if that far, And the son, the older son, the one that unfortunately passed on through an accident, was supposed to really replace Biden. The younger son was an artist in college, and he had no interest in being involved in politics. And then once his brother, had issues, the father pushed him into law school, and from being an art major, and I think he left the laptop. That laptop was, I've used that Apple store, where he left the laptop, the repair shop. I think he did that on purpose. I think it's like it was a Freudian attempt to, scream for help. He really doesn't want to. I mean, that's why he does all the drugs and all like that. He really is not strong enough to be in the political arena, no matter how much you control the media. So, Yeah, you know, again, they all do it. You know, Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, you know, she went into office. She wasn't worth, you know, anything more than, you know, 30 or 100,000 dollars. They're worth now like a couple 100 million. You know, I mean, you know, yeah. Show me a politician that gets rich in office, and I'll show you a crook. That's pretty much what it comes down to. And they're all that way. Most of the Democrats are like that. You find a Republican once in a while like that, but I mean, it's Republicans don't last in office long. They go in, they think they're going to go do their, you know, they're going to do their political, social duty, and then they get out and they go back to work. You know, I think the average, when you take a look at all the average Democrats in the House of Representatives, and the age, I'm sorry, the age of the Democrats in the House. Then you look at the age of the Democrats in the Republicans in the House. It's like almost a 20-year difference. Republicans are like 20 years younger. I don't know why they call us the old white man's party. It's the Democrats who are the old white man's party. And I think it's like 18.7 years older. 18, almost 19 years older. It's ridiculous. The same way over in the Senate. And even then we have a lot of older senators, but still, all the Republican senators versus all the Democrat ones, we are much more younger. You know, it's just, we get out, we do, you know, Republicans like to do their job and get out, go back to work, you know. And so, you know, Mr. Biden had no choice. In the end, he was, you know, in other words, he was going to do disaster. Just like the way Obama, the longer they stay in office, the more disaster they do. Because they don't know when to quit. Like a Mrs. Clinton. Their trust was worth like almost $1 billion. Right? They started with nothing. Zero. Their trust was almost worth $1 billion. After she lost that election, that last election, her trust is almost zero again. It's like, you know, she can't sell politics anymore. It's like, you know, keep the money and run. Now, how does this pertain to trading? I say the same thing in trading. If you have a profit and you don't take that profit, or, you know, I used to say, if you have a position on and you don't sell it when you're making money, the next time you're selling it is when you're losing money. It's the same thing. You know, it's identical. It literally is. It's the ego and the greed. And you need greed to be a trader, but you have to be smart, not egotistical. You have to be smart. You have to want to take those profits, you know. You want to reduce your risk. And that's something that Mr. Biden's party just doesn't know how to do. Hey, Bill Age. Nancy and her husband are bigger crooks than Biden. I don't think so. You know, like I said, I don't live that far away from Biden, and you know, I've been putting up with Biden for 50 years, and I know that on paper, what's her name, the speaker and her husband are worth about under 200 million, but the Bidens are in the 3s and 4s. You know, it's distributed to his brothers and his son and his wife. They all have, I mean, Biden has 6 estates. 6 estates. You know, this is what happens when the media is controlled by one party. You know, they bought up all 6 major networks over the years, and no one's done anything to stop it. And so, you know, due to the internet, it's not much of a reason to try to stop it. And you can see that they have not been winning races for a while. They got away with stealing something. So, I see, we are lucky that the whole world is in the same page. Yeah, when you look at the whole world and GDP and debt, like today is a really quiet day in data. You know, the fundamentals. You know, like GDP or, you know, inflation numbers or any of that other stuff, or, you know, unemployment. But the whole world is, you know, and that started off, and you can really say is that correlates with the anniversary of Richard Nixon disconnecting Bretton Woods and making gold not connected to the dollar anymore. This is the week of the anniversary of it. And you can see the media is not talking about it really at all. It's really going by, and you have to say, to a great extent, that was the beginning. It's like a running race, you know, or a horse race. That's the firing shot that starts the race. When he disconnected the dollar from gold, it really changed the character of world reserve currency. Now we were the world reserve currency on our system, not the backing of gold. And I talked about that yesterday and the day before, where those Richard Nixon tapes. Nixon had put tape recording systems in the White House to record his ideas for posterity. And one of the recordings showed that him and Holderman and I think it was George Shultz at the time. He was management of Office of Management and Budget, and they were saying that, and the Treasury Secretary Conley, they were saying that they would never allow gold to go below $10 billion at Fort Knox. And so when Lord Baring tried to collect $3 billion worth of gold, because they had those dollars sitting in a bank account and they wanted to flatten out, in the end, Lord Baring got $750 million, that was it, and they closed the window forever. And so that really changed the whole complexion of finance, which opened the doorway for, that Douglas said, the whole world is now on the same page. In debt, in many odd ways, the United States is not that deeply in debt. I know it's in a gigantic number, but we're a gigantic economy. So it's like saying, okay, the millionaire has to pay, $50,000 a year for their mortgage. It's like, okay, it's like, all right, well, he's got $1 million, so what's $50,000? It's not that bad. Now, imagine the guy who makes $70,000 or $100,000 a year. Let's say someone that makes only 10% of what he makes or she makes, who makes $100,000 a year, has a $50,000 mortgage. It's a tough nut to deal with. You know what I mean? And that's what I interpret when Douglas says the same page. Like Greece is like 165% in debt to its GDP. Like Japan is like 250% to its GDP. Supposedly China is some outrageous number beyond Japan's. And the United States is like 3 times our GDP, or 2.5 times. Even with all this disaster going on, it's like, so in other words, as much debt as we're in, what Bretton Woods did is it opened the doorway for all the other countries to borrow and borrow to the point where and at the same time, a lot of them have socialist policies. So that means they're not growing. Because we all know, if socialism worked, China would be bigger than the United States right now, with no problem. And we'd be, it would be obvious. The Soviet Union would not be gone. There would be no Russian Republic, Russian Federation. There would be the Soviet Union. Venezuela would be a paradise. Cuba would be a paradise. It doesn't grow. Socialism doesn't grow, and it really traps economics. And so, if it didn't, we would see it. That's the way it goes. Oh, here's Middle Age says, you're probably right, Doc. Laugh out loud. If they were a market, I'd short both of them. Yeah, I agree. They don't even have a market that you can short. That's what's really funny, is to watch Bloomberg and CNBC and some of the financial networks and newspapers talk about China like it's a free market. It's really strange. It's like, it's because the Democrats control them, and so they're trying to push this socialism, and they're trying, so they get all really good press when they're not doing anything good. It's a very strange game. But Mr. Biden, who, I probably said this a long time ago when they stole the election. I probably said, I've been telling my friends is that he's going to blow up. He's going to do something stupid that will blow up, because he's always done that. Throughout his whole career, if he wasn't a Democrat, he would have only lasted maybe, 8 years in the Senate or something like that, or 12 years or something like that, But when you're a Democrat, you can last in there forever and do really ridiculous things with no problem. Republicans ask Republicans to leave usually. Democrats actually rally around a Democrat like this, and they give them awards. It's really weird. It's a strange thing. Like Como, he got what, an Emmy for his book or his movie or whatever it was, for how he did the COVID thing. They credit him for something like 16 or 18,000 deaths in nursing homes. He chose to put people in a dangerous place, move them out of a hospital and back into a dangerous place, and they died. And because of their age and the COVID combined together. And what did they do? They gave him a book deal. He got an Emmy for something. They do that. They rally around him. It's a funny thing, and I knew that Biden, who's been a disaster forever when it comes to his ideas and policies, that he would do it. I know I could find a couple of webinars that I've talked about around the election, past the election time, saying Biden will do something that will blow things up to the point where everybody will know he's a fool. And here it is. It's done and over with. He's done a lot of foolish things over the last 6 months, but this one, the British Parliament in unison voted contempt on him. German Federation, the German Republic has done something of that same nature. NATO has said the same thing. What can I say? I think I'm repeating myself when I talk about the NATO one. So, it is what it is. Anyway, there's the euro. We see the weakness in it, so that tells us, what's going on there. How Afghanistan and the policies are affecting the dollar, and I don't really see much of an effect. When we looked at the Swiss, you can see the Swiss was actually a little bit firmer. The euro has been leaky. It's been leaky for a while now, and let's take a look at cable. Where is it at? Right there. There we are. And there's cable. Cable's being pretty leaky looking there, I'll tell you that. Let's see what the Chicago Quant shows. Yeah, look at that. Lows. We're going after those lows and breaking that 38 area the last couple of days with no problem. We went into the weekly sell here, and we've been in a daily sell a day later, and it's been just one long winner chicken dinner, taking your profits all the way down. 30% here, another 30% of the 70% that's on, then another 30% of the 50% that it's on, and so forth. You just keep on taking slices out of it. Keep the money. Take the money and run, traders. Always do that. Always take the money and run. Let's see. Because remember, again, traders, I'll repeat myself. One of my old sayings here at Dukascopy has always been, if you have a position on and you're making money in it, if you don't take some of it off or all of it off or whatever amount off when you're making money, the next time around you're going to find yourself taking it off when you're losing money. So try to take stuff off when you're making money and using stops and so forth. Robin calls it good money management, and that's a really good example of it. And so you can see here the cables, drifted down. So the dollar is pretty firm. And then let's check out Turkish Lira this morning. Remember, you guys can slow me down by just suggesting to look at something. I'm just giving you my general understanding of, and I think this title today will be Biden and the dollar. I really do. You can see that the dollar is basically not going nuts on the upside and not going down on the downside. Dollar is basically firm, or flat, And I guess you could say when you look at the Swiss being a little stronger than everything else, again, Swiss is the place to go to. Not in a large way, but in some way, without a doubt. There's Turkish Lira. You can see Turkish Lira slid into the buy there yesterday. But again, when you look at the weekly, right there, it's not really lifting up. We're not really seeing that. I think that's a sign when we see the Turkish Lira trading like this. It shows us that the dollar is not being pressured, and it means that it's not being pressured on the good side or the bad side. In other words, they're not running to it and they're not selling it hard. They're doing neither, and that's pretty much the way the pairs have been going. And then we'll drift over to the euro. lower this down a little bit. I can hear that volume in me. There you go. And let's take a look at the euro against the Turkish lira. And you can see there, it did the same thing yesterday. It climbed into the buy. Let's just double check it. Yep. It was 0.0005. So it climbed in the daily buy yesterday. Right there. And, it's off a little bit today. But again, the weekly, look at that. I mean, it's not exactly exploding. And there's no reason for it, really. The world, look, in many ways, we may be in what we would refer to as like a digestive or a resting spot in the overall world market. And it's just kind of like a triangle or a flag or a pennant, however you want to describe it. Some on Wall Street like to refer to it as a resting spot, where it's resting at the moment. And that's pretty much probably the way the currencies are, and the currencies have been the best trading product. They trade a really lovely range, back and forth. They don't get too crazy. Now let's check out Canadian. Canadian like spiked. Not sure what the hell that means, but yesterday I saw that. I thought that was a little bit bigger than it should be, but it's spiking up. And we've been in that weekly buy there since back in June. At the end of May, we basically got into that. And we've been in a daily buy since like right there. So, I mean, they're really, keeping it very firm. They're not running towards the Canadian at the moment. And, I guess, with Trudeau and, I guess Trudeau is somewhat, I don't know the guy Trudeau. I've never met him. But he seemed comfortable with Biden. I'm not sure why. Maybe, I know that he is a minority party. They don't have enough, so he had to bring in the far left to be in control. So I guess that might be part of it. They may be working together, the far left in Canada, far left in the United States. And right now, let's say their value has dropped. I guess that's probably the best way to describe it. All right, and then what we do is once we go from the Canadian, we zip over to like crude and gold. Take a look at those. So let's do that. Let's see. Let's go like that. Let's go right to the crude. It's at the lows of the day. There it is. Let's take a look at it on J4X. Right there, and in many ways it looks like we should do something like that on the downside. I guess we should use another box. I'm looking for it to drop. Let's see, if we tighten this up a little bit, is it? Or how do we do this? So I'm kind of thinking that we're going to repeat that box in the reverse. So we take it from here to there, and we'll do the same thing from there to there. And I think that's how it'll play itself out. And and I would imagine, again with the way things are globally, not much of a reason for the energy market to want to lift at the moment. I would assume, if you're a fund, you would think that oil would be a good inflation hedge versus, say, gold, that type of thing. I mean, I would think it would work that way. At least in my head it would be. If I was managing a few billion, if I had to decide what to do, I mean, I'm a what do I call it? When I had my hedge fund, it was I forget what we called it, a delta neutral or something like that. At the time when we had my hedge fund, we had, I don't know, something like 6,000 hedge funds out there, and honestly, there was only like 3 or 5 that were actually in the same category. It was so weird. It was like we were in such a wilderness. We had a 27% return on the first year, And I found that to be too boring. I thought, oh my God, I don't need anybody's money to make 27%. I can do that on my own. And gave them back the money. And they were like, no, we don't want the money. It's like, yeah, but I don't want to trade your money for 27%. 27% profit is, to me, is a losing year as far as I'm concerned. It's like, us delta neutral rocket scientists basically trade a lot differently. We do 200 or 300% a year. And one time, one guy at Ulysses said that that hedge fund, they said that there should have been an asterisk next to the earnings for the year, and it should just had my name on it, because I made them a couple $100 million easily. And so it was like, they're only a $2 billion fund, and I made them, not only did they not lose money when everybody else lost money that year, but I made them tons, so on hedges. So a real delta neutral, long. I think they call it long short. That's what it is. They call it a long short hedge fund. There's not many long short hedge funds. You can look it up. You'll see that out of thousands of hedge funds, not many of them are going to be long short, and or an option based at the same time. It's just not. It's real rocket science. You have to have a brain in your head to be able to do it. And so a lot of them. They're good at like selling calls against long stock and maybe buying some puts, but they don't get much deeper than that if they're that lucky. So they get scared too, which is really stupid. Because you sell the call and you buy the put and you own the stock. What's there to be scared of? You're going to make money one way or the other, as long as you're smart, like you dollar cost average in, and you try not to, and you try to do it as a credit all the time. So honestly, build butterflies on top of butterflies, that type of thing. Anyway, that is where we are with the crude. You can see it's playing around with the lows of the day. Looks like we'll close in the weekly sell there. Can you see that? No. Right there. There's the weekly. You can see we're still flirting all week long with the weekly sell. We've been in the daily sell for 3 days after that fiasco on the upside. And that's what it comes down to. All right, now, because I was on there saying, geez, every time I went into a daily sell 4 and 5 and 6 days ago, it would flip it back into the buy the next morning. I'd be like, well, I guess it means that they really want to own it, but obviously not. All right, gold. Here's gold. Gold is flirting with the daily sell today. You can see it right there. Let's give it a refresh too. Let's give it that controlled R. There it is. Yeah, so you can see there, it's towards the lows of the day. It's breaking down here, and the weekly's even looking a little anemic. It's got a little leaky thing going on there too. Tarzan swinging on a rubber band, and you can see it there. The weekly is 0. No, it's a minus at the moment, minus 0.02. So we're feeling a little pressure there, traders, on the old gold market there. Right there. Yeah. That's right. Look at that. So that pressure is on. Oh, not that. There we are. But anyway, that's where it's at. And today's Friday, so we got a shot. This is going to be really interesting at the end of the day to see where gold closes out. I guess we could call it a title of Biden, Dollar, and Gold. Oh my. It's kind of like the Wizard of Oz. Biden, Dollar, and Gold. Oh my. Sounds like the webinar is lagging. I've been seeing a little red box kick out. We're having a little bandwidth problem there. I can hear that. I seem to be about 30 seconds behind now. Let's see now. So that does that. That's the gold. That's the oil. Let's drift over to the other currencies again. We'll go take a look at the next 4 set of currencies that we look at. Right there. The first one is always the South African Rand, because we're looking at the action in gold, and it was odd. The Rand was going down in value, which means it goes up. I know that gets a little complicated when it does that, but it's losing value, just like it is today. There it is. See that right there? It's losing value, and gold is pretty much unchanged, really. So I don't know if it's a Zuma thing going on again, or no confidence, or what. But and I could put this up there on the Chicago Quant, the gold. And so gold is not looking pretty. And it's probably green still. Could be green. Maybe another hour will turn red. Let's see. Maybe it is red already. Yeah, see, it's just trying to turn red now. Okay. So you can see it's pretty much dead. So why is the South African Rand losing value? And again, it could be Zuma's situation down there, or just no confidence, or, I mean, let's put it this way. King Dollar seems to be riding high. What was it, Reverend Wright? This was President Obama's minister. Used to say, riding high, riding dirty. Riding dirty, that's what he used to say. Bad guy was riding dirty. Something like that. Very funny guy. Chickens had to come home to roost. He used to say stuff like that. And so you can see there the metal market is almost unchanged, but look at this. Look at the way that thing is zipping up. Let's see. Middle Age says you probably are lucky. Let's say we are lucky that the whole world. Oh, yeah, okay, you're probably right, Doc. They were a market. Yeah, right. Okay, just making sure I didn't miss anybody's desire to see something. I'm always happy to just stop what I'm doing and go take a look at something that we learn from looking. That's how it works. So let's see what else we got going on here. So let's see, what did we do? We looked at. Oh yeah, we're looking at the gold and the action in the South African Rand. Let's take a look at the Russian Federation Ruble. The same thing is making that launch up. The dollar is pretty firm here. I'd imagine a lot of people are nervous at the moment. Just overall. Until there's clarity in America, who's running the place. I mean, right now they're talking about getting rid of the vice president. They need to put somebody in there that has some competency, so that if they have to remove Biden, they're going to have somebody half decent, because they don't want her. And I was telling somebody on the phone this morning, it happened the same way with Nixon. It went from Spiro Agnew was removed. Then Rockefeller became vice president. Yeah, JD's son. Nelson Rockefeller, and then on the election, he stepped down, and Gerald Ford was made the vice president, who was a senator for Michigan. And then Nixon resigned, and Ford took over as president. And so it's been done relatively clear. It's been done a few times like that in the United States. So there's grumbling now to get rid of the vice president, so that they can find somebody that the public will take serious. And I said it to my friend, the Democrat Party doesn't have that deep a bench. Like when you look at it as like a soccer team, or a football team, or something like that, or a baseball team, or a cricket squad. They don't have that many players on the sidelines really strong. Right now they're very strong on a socialist basis. And if they dared to run, like some would probably say, well, why don't they put Bernie Sanders in there? If they put Bernie Sanders in there, they would be wiped out. I mean, like 70% of the population hates Bernie Sanders. Now, there's only like 30 some odd percent, but it's the base that loves him in the Democrat Party. So, the base loves him, and the majority of the country hates him. That's why he's not a presidential candidate for the last two presidential election years. I mean, he keeps on winning the base. I mean, they've stolen the election from him twice now. And, he gets more votes than anybody else in the primaries, but they somehow maneuver the vote in the end away from him. Because they know that if he was the Democrat leader, 70% of the country really dislikes him. They find him, they don't like socialism. So it's a real toughie there. very much a toughie, you know. So that's probably why we're seeing the dollar firmer, is that they're just waiting to see how this all plays out. So it's a flight to safety, basically. Here's the yen. Yen is like sideways too, but it's in a daily buy for a few days, and it is flirting with the weekly, as you can see right there. Yeah. And let's see, what else do we got going on there? I'm trying to think what else when it comes to the yen. Let's see what it looks like on J4X. Right there. So we're seeing a strong dollar, mainly because of just uncertainty. I think that's what it is. It's the flight to safety that drives most of us American traders crazy. We hate that. It's like, wait a minute, aren't we the ones causing the problem? Why the hell is everybody running at us? Why is everybody buying our dollar? It's like, no. If you're you're buying our bonds and you're buying our dollar. Why are you doing that? Aren't we the problem? But I guess it is what it is, you know. And that's usually what drives us traders here in the States totally bunkers. It's like, no, it's not. You're supposed to run away from the problem, not towards the problem. All right. Let's check out the last of the currencies that we look at on the second side of currency looking. And that is the Mexican peso. And there it is right there. You can see the Mexican peso looking very firm. We're getting a nice little bounce out of this. And we're kind of thinking, we said it yesterday and the day before, you know, this strength here is pretty firm. Pretty firm. It's looking like that. So we were thinking we're going to get a nice little bounce out of that. It's going to be better than this bounce and that bounce, which is real, or I guess, yeah, this bounce and that bounce. That's what it is. This one and this one. We're getting much more. We're already beyond both of them already. That's pretty cool. I just, you know, the way the peso's been, it's probably more of a selling opportunity, but not right now. Let's wait for it to get into a daily sell. Let's watch it get out of the weekly buy, that type of thing, or at least start to get out of the weekly buy, that type of thing. All right, now let's see. All right, so we've done the last of the four currencies that we look at, but trust me, I'm glad to go back to any currency you want to look at, be it the cable, be it the Canadian, be it the whatever. You know, the Martian green coin, whatever, you know. All right, let's jump over to, where do we go from here? We go back to, let's see, let's shift that down. So we go to stock indices? No, we go to the metals, that's it. Let's jump over to the metals and see what's going on. Look at silver and platinum and see how they're treating all that. And nat gas. Nat gas really battled last night. Really battled yesterday. Closed in a buy. And as you can see here, we'll just show you nat gas real quick. This one right here. There's nat gas. Closed in a daily buy by the hair of its chinny chin. The weekly is now back over the zero line. We're 18 weeks in a weekly buy on the fact check spreadsheet, which is line 10. And you know, it's just like, you know, just pushing and pushing and pushing. And let's see, what else is there? So where are we now? I guess that's it. That's the strength of that. Now let's take a look at silver. Silver and platinum really have not been able to get any real grip on this move up that gold did. Just show you real quick. There's gold again. Actually, gold is up for the day again. And the South African rand is losing money at the same time. It's just some type of flight to safety. And then last but not least, we go over to the platinum right there, the October contract, which is just like silver. It's like 15 weeks in a sell versus the 14 weeks in silver. And you can see it is trying to press into a daily buy today. That's pretty cool. Doesn't take much to get it to roll, does it? It's been in itself since here. Fix that like that. There. And it's flirting with the daily buy today, so we'll see if that holds up. A little surprised. If we saw silver and that start to move and gold move into a plus, we'd start to think, wow, maybe we got something going on here. But you can see, let's just give this a Control R. You can still see that the silver is minus for the day. Yeah, how about that copper? I think we posted something about that yesterday, copper, too. We put that in one of the magazines. There it is right there. It's been sliding down, copper. Not today, though. Let's give that a refresh. Right there. And you can see it's through the zero line, but it's playing with the weekly sell at the same time. It's been in the daily sell for here, and we've been in the weekly sell, underneath the weekly number sell, and in the daily sell. So it's been sliding down. Could be a sign of some weakness in China. This is their gold in many ways, copper. And so that can have enormous, great influence to traders when they see, copper dropping like that. That could be literally a major sign that some issues are going on, and that wouldn't surprise me any, because it does seem like that's what's going on at the moment. China's being put, by Biden blowing up, he's basically forcing China on the world stage more than usual. I think they would rather sneak their way into it. I don't think they have a desire to be open, oh, well, I think we're going to attack Taiwan tomorrow afternoon at 3. I don't think they really want that, as much as they are saying very aggressive things. I think they would rather rattle the sword than actually have to swing the sword. And I think that's, part of what's going on. It is a very odd circumstance at the moment. And so, with Biden pushing the United States off the stage by jumping off the front of it, he fell into the orchestra pit. And so, by doing so, it kind of makes everybody see the orchestra pit. And that's not what they really want. Let's see. Here we go. Douglas says they said that the production on China is higher. You mean in copper production? So they're selling it down because they've increased their production. That makes sense. It is though the Chinese gold in a sense. I mean, they really trade that stuff and borrow money against it, and they do a lot of stuff with it because they're still growing. They're an emerging. As much as they're an industrialized nation, they're more of an emerging nation than they are an industrialized one. They're kind of like what Brazil was supposed to be like 30 years ago, and somehow or another has been somewhat hesitant. Same thing with Argentina. They were both in South America supposed to become more industrialized and tech-wise, and they've, because of government and policies, they are the opposite. So they also stole the elections out of Argentina totally. That really was bad. They brought in people really tired of the socialist stuff down there, and they keep on, they used the same machines as Biden did. So, matter of fact, they were invented down there for that whole situation. They moved those machines and software up here to try to steal the 6 elections in the 6 states, which is, they've been turning them over. Arizona turned it over to Trump has won Arizona now, and they're doing that. But the media is not really talking about it. It's kind of keeping it quiet. But that's how it's all going to play out. It'll be a slow, steady process, and then it'll go back to the legal side of stuff. But yeah, you can see there copper trying to bounce up today. We'll see how well it does. Just see how it does. I'm sure it'll do all right. That's that's usually the way it goes. You know, sooner or later they get it firmed up, and next thing you know is it's doing good. You know. So, all right. Let's see, where are we at now? Okay, so we've just looked at copper. Anybody want to see anything else? The whole industry is high, or too high price-wise. Is that what you're saying? It needs to be sold down. I saw Freeport McMoran down the stock, you know, down yesterday. Let's see. So that's the metals. We've done copper, we've done platinum, we've done silver. You know, it would be nice to see, you know, silver try to lift its head up. Let's take a look at silver just one more time, and then we'll jump from there. Because I think what we're going to do is we're going to jump over. Yeah, see, it's pushing down still. Let's go over and check out the stock indices. Right. Let's go like this. We're going to switch over to. Yeah, China numbers are so. You know, the financial organizations I follow, they have a caveat constantly whenever we're talking about China. They always say, and you know that their accounting and everything is just not organized enough to trust their numbers. That's what they say, stuff like that. All right, here is the stock indices. As you can see here, the S&P 500 is up 4 points, the NASDAQ is up 41 points, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 34. And let me show you what they did today. You can see when I started, you can see when London, it's basically London there. You know, London gets going, they started buying. Look at that. So Asia seems to sell us down. London buys it, and it takes them up. And so we saw the Dow Jones Industrial Average go from the 34,575 area, and right now it's trading at 34,863. That's like a 300-point move on the upside on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Almost a 400-point move, right? Let's see, what's that? There it is. 5 to 8. Yeah, so it's like, it's almost a 300-point move. It's like 250-point move. Pretty aggressive, you know? Then, let's see, what's next? Go over to the S&P 500, and it's the same thing. This is an intraday ticking away, so it gives you the flavor of the market overall. Same thing. There's London, there's Frankfurt, there's Switzerland opening up. Asia sells it down. The U.S. and Europe buys it, takes it back up. And then they got to cover shorts or do something of that nature. So that's what that's doing there, and that's the S&P 500. It's up 3 points. You see, we went into the sell right here. Yeah, right there. Went down, tried to pop up. You see the white line, and this tried to pop up right there and there. I guess it was here and there, but with red dots. So we know it was weakness, and then it goes right back down on that. You can see it sells off again. And then here's the Tech 100 that Dukascopy has. No, that's not it. There's the Tech 100 right there. And the same situation. You know, there's the London Open, the Frankfurt Open, the Swiss Open, and they've taken it up. It's gone from 14,850 basically to 15,975. So 125 points up. Pretty good for a 15,000 index, you know. Let's see, what else now? So that's the intraday look, or as we like to call it, the Tesla look. Now what we'll do is we will slide over to, let's do this. Let's slide over to the dailies. See what's going on the dailies. Now what in blazes is that? There you go. Right there is, let's see, there is, that was silver. So here is the NASDAQ 100, or Tech 100. You can see it's trying to battle up and try to get back into the daily buy. We got a little red and green going on at the moment. You can see the weekly is fighting to not go into the sell. Today is Friday. The S&P 500, same situation, except for it's not, let's give it a refresh R. There that is trying to do basically the same thing. You can see it right there. Yeah, right there. But it's not through the zero line. But the weekly is not even remote selling off. It's just kind of chill. You know, it's kind of chill. Then, let's see, where's the last one? Let's see, last one is the Dow on a day-to-day basis. And you can see that's having its issues. It's trying to get up. Let's give it also Control R. Give it a refresh. And you can see that's doing the same thing. So they are trying to get it stay in daily sells, but notice, you know, the weeklies are not giving up anything. They're holding on pretty strong. Yeah, it's right there. You know, that strength is there, and it's not going to go away. Now I'm going to show you the what is it? The Russell 2000. Sounds like a race car. And you see, it did not take. Let's give it a Control R too. Right there. There we are. And you can see right there. You know, as much as it's in a weekly sell for a second week, it's falling down, and it's in a daily sell for 2 weeks or something like that. You know, it's been winner chicken dinner. But you can see here they did not take out this low right there. Now this is the weakest of all the U.S. Indexes, right here. Yeah, let's widen that out so you can see that more. See right there. It hasn't taken that low out. And if it's not going to take that low out, then what it's doing is it's going to basically just chop sideways. We'll see. Maybe it does. You know, maybe they break this thing down. Jackson Hole is next week, traders. So they say that they're not really going to say anything at all. They think that's just going to be relatively dead. You know, they don't want to, and they seem to be talking a timeline now by the end of the year, and they have done some tapering. But, you know, there's other little things they've been doing also at the same time. All right, this is Doc from North America. I want to say everybody have a safe and smart weekend. We will catch you all on Monday. TGIM is Monday. Thank goodness it'll be Monday. All right, safe and smart weekend, traders. Ta-ta for now. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you, to all our Dukascopy trading friends. Arrivederci, traders, arrivederci.